This next one is really pretty easy to tackle. Number 5 is, it sounds too good to be true. That's really just a form of negativity that they possibly can, that they're just beating around the bush. Yeah, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Therefore, with maybe some of our objection overcoming, you might want to tackle in, well, this isn't the easiest thing that I've ever done, like eating breakfast or what have you, whatever you throw in there. But it may be a good idea to say, well, you know, it does take returning some phone calls and whatnot, but hey, it does great with one of those. So with that said, what do you say we go ahead and move on into our mock-up phone call, if you will, and kind of see exactly how I tackled this. So make sure you've got your script printed off, and let's go ahead and let's do one here.
Well, it just sounds too good to be true.
Well, you're right. That's probably the biggest thing that I dealt with myself. I completely understand. I guess the reason that I struggle with that is because I had tried another opportunity where I was promised all the money and success and never saw any of it, so I can kind of relate with what you're saying there.
Yes.
But all the reasons why other opportunities failed are all addressed and solved in this opportunity, and that's why I jumped on it. You see, you have access to a turnkey marketing system that drives all the prospects directly into you. If you can return a few phone calls to people who've already asked for the information and direct them to see a website, then you can easily do this.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever heard of the old saying, it's just a numbers game? You'll have a few phone calls to make each day, and just so many of those will go to the website, and out of those, just so many will send you cash. It almost is too good to be true, and I'm not going to tell you that you'll have $20,000 cash by the end of this week. That wouldn't be very realistic, but you can see how having the system set up this way drives the cash into you.
Well, yes, I sure can.
I would be happy to show you how it all works if you want, but is there any other concerns that you have before we move forward?
Okay. Alright. Set this down here. Alright. That's how I handled that. I handled that in a very long, drawn-out process for you, again, so that you can kind of pick what you want to see out of that. If someone says this sounds too good to be true, don't go into a really long, well, like I just did. These are just for your example purposes only, to get your memory jogging to where you can do your own bullet points. So let's tackle what I said and why I said it again. We're going to agree with them. Right out of the box, we're going to say, Miss Prospect, haha, you're right. Or Miss Prospect, as professionally as possible, but spry and chipper on the phone say, you know what? You're right. I completely understand. That's probably the biggest thing I dealt with myself as well. Now, if you're noticing here, I say that's probably one of the biggest things we dealt with on a lot of scenarios, not just this one, because you're not going to be overcoming all the objections out of someone. Someone's not going to give you 5 objections or 10 objections where you say, I actually dealt with that myself. They're going to give you a couple of 3 and you can say, yeah, I dealt with that myself. You're connecting with them, and it may or may not be true. If it's not true, don't say it. But if you think about it, when you first looked at this, it had to have crossed your mind that, golly, that does look maybe just a little scammy. How does that work? Or that does look kind of too good to be true. Or that does, you know, you had those objections in your head. So it's not that you're not telling the truth. It probably went through your head. So anyway, that's the biggest thing I dealt with myself. I completely understand. We're agreeing with the prospect. I guess the reason that I struggle with that is because, and use another situation if you had another situation, but I prefer to go after the old MLMers and network marketers, so this was my personal one that I chunked in here. I had tried another opportunity where I was promised all this money and success and never saw any of it, so I can relate to what you're saying here. This is connecting to them, making sure you're on the same playing field. But all the reasons why other opportunities fail are all addressed and solved in this opportunity. And if you want to, you can go through the levels of, you know, hey, this doesn't take armies of people. It's not network marketing, MLM. You see, you have access to a turnkey marketing system that drives all the prospects directly into you. if you can return a few phone calls to people who've already requested the information and direct them to see a website, then you can do this. So basically I just told them, yeah, it does kind of look too good to be true, but you know, it's not just as easy as cutting butter, Mr. Prospect. You don't say that, but you're saying it's not that easy. You know, it drives a ton of people in, and I do have to pick the phone up and invite them to the website. So I am overcoming the objection by saying, hey, it may not be as easy as you think it is. This is all I do. If that sounds easy to you, then this is definitely doable for you too. See, I just overcame the objection. Super easy objection, by the way, to overcome. Have you ever heard of the old saying, it's just a numbers game? And then, of course, I went in to talk to them about I get a few phone calls, just so many people go to the website, just so many people jump on board. Everyone, I don't care who they are, everybody agrees with the numbers game. Everybody likes the numbers game, whether they like the actual game of numbers, doesn't matter. They like the concept of it's just a numbers game. And when you explain it that way, and by the way, this particular sentence, the numbers game, I use it in lots of areas. So anyway, people like that it's just a numbers game. That makes sense to them because everything in life happens to go the same way. So no matter what intellectual or experience level or whatever level they're at, that comment hits home with just about everybody. It is almost too good to be true, and I'm not going to tell you that you'll have $20,000 cash by the end of this week. That wouldn't be realistic. You threw a little bit of controversy in there, a little bit of you know, just real, what I like to say, brutal honesty in there, and let them know that you're not shooting pie in the sky numbers at them. That it does take just a little bit of effort, but since we don't have to deal with network marketing junk, then this is very doable. But you can see how having the system set up the way it is drives cash into you. So I just kind of overcame an objection. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It does take a little bit of work. It's set up on a numbers game, and up at the top I'd already told them that the system's turnkey and it drives the people into me. I just have to return the phone calls. I'm answering. I'm telling them what's going on by setting it up in a pre-objection stance before they actually get it answered. So of course I'd wait for the answer for, you know, how easy this is, drives cash into them. I'd be happy to show you how it works if you want, but is there any other concerns you have before we move forward? Ask for the next objection. It's kind of like the popular salespeople that you've seen. They say you've got to ask for the sale. I'll use that a little bit to a degree here of you've got to ask for the next objection. Pure and simple. They'll give it to you if you ask for it. They may not give it to you right then, but because you asked and you move forward, they think it will be okay here in just a few minutes or maybe even on the next conversation phone call. They'll go ahead, since you've asked for it, they're okay with giving you those objections when you are not selling anything. Never, ever, ever sell anything. Just be a helper, and they feel like you are not the salesman trying to sell them something. You're just trying to, you know, see if this is a mutual match for them, so to speak. So with all the keys in place, you can see how this, overcoming this particular objection of it sounds too good to be true, is actually a really easy one to overtake. Let's move on to the next one.